Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, and we are back in the A320, back on our approach to KLAX, just like we do in the guide, and we're going to start talking about our next section of the guide, which is the missed approach. Now today I'm going to try to show you a very basic way to handle the missed approach, and then just try to keep things as simple as possible and show you guys how you can return to the pattern. Again, all of this will be without using ATC, just getting you in the habit of quickly manipulating the controls to get her to do what you need her to do. Alright, so let's go ahead and move up to the cockpit and get started. Alright, so as you can see, we're on the descent. We're about 25 miles away from LAX. We've got the LS signal turned on. We're capturing the we haven't captured the localizer yet, but the localizer is being tracked now, and then we'll be getting this set up here. The approach page is all set and ready to go. It's already activated. Now if you go to performance page here, if we look forward here, we can see that the next step is a go around. The out acceleration altitude, this is the altitude at which the engines will climb out to in the event that we move to missed approach phase. Now, I had to type that in manually, so you simply just type 2,000 feet and then throw it in here. Okay, from here on out, everything's going to be pretty black and white. Let's go ahead and pause the sim for a minute and talk about the approach chart, because that's where the magic happens. So as you can see, once again, we're just passing through Fueler here. But what you're looking for is these instructions right here, and every approach plate has them at some location here. And so in the event of a missed approach, first of all, what's a missed approach? A missed approach is any time where your landing must be aborted. Now this could be another aircraft is still on the runway, there's FOD on the runway, foreign object debris or something has to be cleared up. Horrible weather, let's say the turbulence is just absolutely awful, or the wind shears are just bad, and you don't feel safe bringing the aircraft in, you want to go around. Okay, or anything like that. You reach your decision height and you can't see the runway. A huge thick layer of fog, and you're just not comfortable. That you're not confident that you're actually coming in on the runway. Okay, so those are all scenarios, just to name a few, in which we would make the missed approach call. All right, so what we want to look for here. Let me see if I can zoom this in. Oh, perfect. That actually works out. So missed approach instructions. We're going to climb to 2,000 feet on heading of 251 degrees, and if you notice, 251 is our final heading, so we're going to follow the runway heading. Okay, all right, until crossing the SMO VOR. Here's the SMO VOR, and here's that VOR line. You see it coming right through here. Once we cross that VOR, okay, then we will make a left turn heading 236 and outbound on the SMO VOR 195 radial. So here's the SMO VOR. This would be the 360 radial, 180 would be due south, right, directly from, and then you have 090 and 270. So on the 195 radial is when we're going to make the turn to, 236 degrees. Okay, and then report to Catley, and then for the initial distance, 15.7 SMO and hold. So we would come out here 15.7 miles away from SMO, so that's that distance here. So you see 15.7, that means that we're 15.7 nautical miles away from the Santa Monica VOR. Okay, now you would hold here, and basically what would happen from there, if you were using ATC communication, is they would then give you vectors back to the initial, or they would take you back. They would guide you back in when they felt it was appropriate. Now what we're going to do as far as the aircraft goes is, if we are landing full flaps, we're going to go up to flaps 3. Okay, we're going to begin our climb out speed. It's going to be just like a normal takeoff. Once we push the throttles forward, let me back up. We finally decide, nope, this landing isn't happening. We're going to go throttles all the way to the firewall, or to the forward console. So go into TOGA, which stands for takeoff and go around. So maximum power. We're going to hit our climb speeds just like we entered in the FMS on takeoff. All right. We're going to make sure we have 2,000 feet in the altimeter box, and we're going to do that before we actually come in for the approach to land anyway. So I'll show you guys when we do that here. All right, but we're going to climb out to 2,000 feet. We're going to cross the Santa Monica VOR. We're going to wait till we're on the 195 radial, all right, and we're going to begin our left-hand turn onto our 236 heading. All right, so let me show you guys what that looks like. Let's see if we can make it all work out right. Alright, so let's see here. Assuming the sim cooperates with me and everything goes as planned, but if not, we'll compensate like we always do. Either way, you guys will figure something out here. Alright, so there we go. We're at 5,000 feet. Let's go ahead and bring on the localizer. Alright, let's start slowing this bird down, like a lot. Getting in close. We're inside 20 miles now. And we're below 10,000 feet, and I forgot to turn my lights on. Shame on me. I was planning for this tutorial here. And we're going to use the taxi lights for landing. Everything else should be good. We're going to use low on the auto brakes. Let's go back to our flight plan here. You can see now we've got the glide slope on screen here. Spoilers are armed. What's our speed here? 260. Let's pull those spoilers actually back out. We can go halfway with the autopilot engaged, remember. Let's start slowing this bird down a bit. Once we pass that green dot there, we'll need to go flaps 1. Got our altimeter set in for LAX. We're now at 14 miles, 13 miles give or take. Approaching flap speed should be okay. We're going to go flaps 1. Oh, I didn't like that. I was worried we were a little fast. Not too bad, but a little. I'm going to take this down to our approach speed here for a minute, or close to. There's 180. Come on, girl, I need you to slow down. There she goes. Oops. Apparently forgot to set the engine master mode too. We're falling a little below the glide slope, so what I'm going to do here is activate the approach mode. You can see localizer is now locked in, and we're acquiring the glide slope. Alright, we're getting slow enough here. We'll pull those up. Keep bringing that down. Below 200 knots, we can bring the gear down. Gear is going to add a ton of drag. Helps a lot. Let's change the weather a bit. As pretty as that is, it's going to make it a little hard to see what we're doing. There we go. That's better. Alright, so from here, we're going to play things out just like we always have. Okay, so now we're going to go flaps 2. Glide slope's locked in, localizer's locked in. And so now that we're on the approach and everything's locked in, we can now roll our altitude up to 2,000 feet. We want to set that to our target altitude. Okay, this is our missed approach altitude. Cabin check. We're going to go flaps 3. Keep the cabin a buzz. And let's go ahead and hit flaps 4. And now by putting the speed back into managed mode, it's going to go to our target airspeed for the approach. So it looks like 133 knots. Alright, and what I like to do is on the heading. Actually, we'll just leave that. Should bug to our current location. It actually is a little bit of a windy day. We got winds at 270 for 12 knots today. So we're getting a little bit of a push. I love the wing views. I can't wait till we get replays. And so you can call a missed approach at basically any stage during it. I'm going to wait till we're a little bit closer in the event of, like I said, we're going to simulate, let's call it horrible weather. That's what we're going to simulate today. There's a tornado and a hurricane right over the runway. We didn't see it until we got in close. You know, I mean, it's a terrible situation. You guys know how it happens. You know, you don't want to go through a tornado and a hurricane at the same time. It's just bad. You know, dirties the airplane up. We don't want to do that. All right, but let's say from here we needed to. All right, so now what we're going to do is to just call missed approach. We're just going to push the throttles to forward. And you can see, let's pause for just a second. Options, pause simulation. Let's look what happened. The second I did that, we went into go around mode. Okay? Let's go ahead and unpause. It's going to climb us up to the 2,000 feet. We're going to get the gear up. We're going to go one stage up on the flaps. So we're going to return to flaps 3. Now it wants lever climb, so we're going to go back to our climb position. And we're overspeeding, so we'll retract the flaps again. We'll go ahead and start cleaning up. Okay, now remember we got to maintain about below 250 knots. And look what happened with our heading. Our heading knob came up. Let's open up our VOR window here. And you can see there's the SMO. Let me pause again so you guys can see this. Ah, come on. Why are you doing this? Pause. Oh, you're not letting me, you dirty, dirty person. Are you letting me now? Okay. All right, so here is the Santa Monica VOR. So remember, it said once we cross it, we're going to make our heading to 236 degrees. Okay? And we're going to be looking for about, in our case, what was it, 15 nautical miles, 16 nautical miles, and then we'll start making our turn back. Okay? Let's unpause. And you can see we're automatically in heading mode. And then what I'm going to do here is bring us left 236 degrees. Let's go ahead and go to nav ring. Let's take this down to 20. So at 20 nautical miles, you can see I turned it to nav. Or here, we can go VOR. And you can still see it. There's the SMO, Santa Monica. Steering on to heading 236 degrees. And we're going to wait till this is about halfway through the ring, to about 15 nautical miles out. Let's go ahead and turn the LS system off for now. And then when we're about the 195 radial, so we're just about past it. Let me pause again. Because our next step, so if we come back here, we're not still moving, are we? Okay. So if we zoom in again, our next step, all right, so outbound on the VOR, and then we're going to turn 195 until we reach the Catley waypoint, okay? So now we're going to change our, so first initial heading was 236. Now we're going to make our turn 295. And what we're doing is we're looking at, here is our SMO, okay? And 195 would be about right here. So, like I said, we're a little past it, but not bad, okay? And that's the radial to think of it. Remember, this is 360, and you can see 330 is right there, so we're very close. So 360, okay? And so how you read it is, where's 195? Well, when 195 intersects the aircraft and your VOR or waypoint location, whatever it happens to be, you're on the right bearing. It's time to make your next move, okay? So now we're going to go ahead and unpause again, and let's turn, what was that heading again? 195. So let's bring it left. Oops. Got time here. Come on. 195. Like I said, I should have turned a little sooner, but it's not bad. And then what we should be able to do is now turn on our waypoints. And there's Catley. And if you look, we're going to be heading right for it. Holy moly. So, that's a little on the craziness. But you guys can still see it, which is good. Let's zoom down to 10 here. So now we know Catley's our target. So when we get to Catley, now let's talk about what we're going to do next. So let's go ahead and pause again. So now Catley, again, so this is where it's going to be, this is where it gets tricky as far as ATC versus non-ATC. Once you get out here, ATC, if you're using it, should direct you back into the pattern. If you're not using ATC, well, then it becomes more of a fine line of your preference, in my opinion. I mean, this is simulation, so this is probably better for a more real-world experienced pilot. So I'm just going to tell you what I would do, because I am not a real-world experienced pilot. So the way I look at it, you have two choices. You can go back to the approach initial, the initial fix, which is crane. So way the heck back here, which crane puts you back up at 10,000 feet, which that doesn't make much sense. We're at 2,000 feet. We're basically in the pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fly us back in. Once we come in here, I'm going to come back in on the reciprocal for 255. I'll have to look it up again, or take a peek at the gauge there. But anyway, so I'll fly the reciprocal here, start heading back towards Lima and Honda. All right, and what I'll probably do is turn back in when I get to about Honda, start coming to about here, and then make my 45 back onto the approach, reactivating everything. Because the other thing that you can do now is we are able to reactivate the approach phase, and you guys will see what that looks like in a minute. So let's go ahead and see what all that looks like. All right, so let's unpause. We've got a couple more minutes. It looks like a minute or two until we get to Catley. And by the way, I just got a notification, 6,400 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. This is so cool. All right, so we're close enough to Catley that I think I'm going to start turning back in. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and set us back to the arc. I like the arc. I prefer it. Let's go back to distance here, and I'm going to start turning us south here. Well, actually here, let's do this. Let's go back to nav again. So 255, what would the reciprocal would that be? Just start turning, at the very least, let's start heading east here. And let's turn the waypoints off now. We don't need those on anymore. All right, so that was close. So let's see here, 255s right there. Yeah, not bad for winging it. And again, guys, remember this is a simulation. You're doing this for fun. If you're not having fun, you're stressing yourself out. You know, that's just not worth it. I'm gonna turn my constraints back on though. I like having those. What I mean by that is, like, you know, don't be afraid to hit your missed approach. You know, but read the approach plates. You know, it tells you what to do, but don't worry about nailing everything right down to a T. Just get in the habit of it. You know, I've seen a lot of videos, and myself included, in the past, who, you know, oh no, I'm way too high, and we punch that nose down. We're like, no, darn it, like, I don't know what to do afterwards. We're gonna make this happen. We're gonna land this plane, you know. And then it ruins the experience, right? You know, we don't have the fun that we're looking to have here with this. So, you know, this stuff is pretty exciting. It's a lot of fun to learn and get into those kind of situations. I have it. I actually find the missed approaches kind of cool now. What was it? A couple of days ago, I flew in terrible weather to sort of practice it, you know, for the guide and everything. And I actually had a good time with it. There was just something, like, it got really intense. I wish you guys could see the idiot smile on my face when I started talking about it, because I literally got up out of my chair after I finally got it back down. So the first attempt I tried to land, it did what I was looking for. I had to go around. That was for darn sure. And then the second attempt, obviously I brought it down, but it was one of those, like, whoo, like, even for a simulator, it wasn't bad. And, you know, with all the things that, you know, FS 2020 still needs some work on, it was a good experience. You know, when you wake up when you get up out of your chair and your hands are sweating from flying her in, the sim can't be that bad, you know. All right, so let's see what we're gonna do here. So what I'm gonna do here, let's get this down to 10 miles, by the way. We can sort of see that coming in. Maybe 10 isn't going to work. So let's do this. So like I said about Honda, maybe right in here, we'll start turning back in towards. And let's go to, and you can see we can reactivate the approach phase. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So line everything back up again, so it sets our speeds up. That was weird. The engine sound just went away. Yet they're accelerating. That was odd. If I didn't know any better, I'd say the engines went to idle. Okay. Alright, so this is probably where they would vector us up, because this actually looks like we're going to get a little low. So I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and call it to... Let's go to Honda. Let's go to 3,600 feet. So make our altitude 360 is what we're going to call... There we go. And let's go ahead and let her climb. And we'll just rendezvous back at Honda. Because we are a little low. I mean, we're not going to be scraping a neighborhood's rooftops like that. Although, pretty golf course. Although, if any of you guys live on a golf course, you guys got to tell me, like, what that's like. Because that just seems like you're asking for it. I love to golf, but I don't know if I'd ever live on a golf course. Putting the fate of my forehead on other people, I don't know. I guess it depends on where you live. I mean, I guess I wouldn't mind living right off the tee box, but... Alright, so let's see where we are here. Still got a bit to go. Okay. But we're up at the correct altitude for it. What happened over there? I wonder why the terrain's so flat. Let's check something real quick. Don't mean to sidetrack here. Just kind of curious. On. Delimitation off. Bandwidth on. Rolling cache. I don't know why rolling cache is on. Graphics. Next, everything's up. Alright, well, here's what it is. Let's keep going. Not sure what's going on there. I mean, they're slowly loading in, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just being picky. And I'm going to go ahead and turn our LS back on. So we have it ready to go. Obviously localizer and everything like that. We're going to hold off for a minute, not long. And as we extend out further, we should see the glide slope start coming down a little bit. Alright, so I'm going to start turning us towards home here. So we're going to make our heading, let's make it about 350. Oop, I don't know how we got, that was a big jump. And we're at that S, so I'm going to go ahead and roll flaps 1. Oh, that's actually flaps 3, sorry. Is that flaps 3? It's flaps 2, sorry. Look at that, the engines went to idle again. Alright, as long as you know what you're doing, plane. Let's do 360. It's going to be a little weird cutting that corner here in a minute. Alright, so now I'm going to return to arc. Now we've acquired the localizer already, so I'm going to do is about 5 miles. I'm going to activate the localizer and we should turn on to course. Let's go ahead and get our gear down. You can see we're starting to get closer to the glide slope. Landing lights are still on, everything's still on, we're good to go there. Probably about 3 miles we'll hit it. And you can see the glide slopes coming down closer and closer. Alright, let's go ahead and tap the localizer. Got the approach mode. And now we're acquiring the glide slope. Actually, we're descending. Sorry, I must have bumped it. I didn't mean to actually make it descend. Let's go back up. I didn't realize I did that. Stop. Alright, we should be okay at 3,000. I didn't realize I clicked it. And here's our turn on to the final. You can see the localizer has now been locked. And the glide slope is locked. We are back on the approach. The reference speed is set. Let's go to flaps full. And this time we'll bring her in. By the way, I will say, FYI to people, I don't know what happened today. I haven't seen any updates. I haven't updated my Airbus in a couple days for the A320 mod. I did notice today that my standby ADI suddenly doesn't work. However, the descent today was flawless without any intervention from me. This aircraft descended from 24,000 feet all the way down to the approach altitude all on its own. Hitting every constraint, honoring every constraint. There was no issues, so I don't know what happened. I can't explain that yet, but figured I'd share that with you guys. Alright, so once again, let's set our missed approach altitude, just in case. We're still going to follow procedure. I don't know what the stuttering is all about this time. We got our minimum set in, 304 feet. Locked in at our approach speed, 133 knots. Good to go. Alright, let's see if I can get it in from a little further this time. So we're going to pull that back. Gonna keep that glide slope marker where it's supposed to be. Too high, getting too high. Come on, baby, come back to me. Come back to me. Baby, come back. centered up. Quit floating. Ooh. Not one of my best, definitely not, but you know. All right. And that, you guys, is the basics of how to fly a missed approach. So I hope you guys get out there and practice a couple yourself. They add a little bit more to it and create some scenarios, create some situations where you're forced to fly the missed approach. You know, don't be afraid to give it a shot. And as always, any questions or comments, leave them down the field below. And above all else, as usual, stay safe, stay healthy, guys. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.